Welcome to Living the Smarter Science is Slim, where we provide a scientifically proven lifestyle for long-term health and fat loss by eating more and exercising less, but smarter.
Eat smarter, exercise smarter, live better. I am so ready for that.
Hey everybody, this is Carrie Brown, down in the blue corner, and way down the other end of the studio in the red corner is Mr. Jonathan Bailor.
Woo! And the crowd goes wild. How are you today, Carrie?
I can't quite see you. Are you really down there?
I'm here. I'm not sure how interested the listeners are into our audio setup, but yes, Carrie and I are positioned further away from each other than normal. They had to separate us after the last podcast because Carrie got a little out of control with her flicking. My arm was severely bruised. And I'm just kidding.
I can't flick him anymore.
Well, Carrie, I know you said you wanted to start off this week's podcast with even super happy topics. We always talk about happy topics, but I wanted to talk about SANE party spreads because I recently was over at one of my friends' house and they had this wonderfully SANE party spread. And I was hoping that we could share some SANE party spread ideas with our listeners this week.
Awesome.
So I will start. Let's do a little alternating. So this one, and I'll go unexciting to start with. I'll set the low bar. We can get better from here. Vegetable platter with Greek yogurt dip.
That's wildly exciting.
All right. Well, do tell.
Oh, all that raw, fresh, yummy crunchiness. What could be better?
Well, and the dip is actually quite easy to make and quite delicious as well because you've got your Greek yogurt there. And then you just get some of your favorite dry dip mix. Check the label so that's not completely insane, but the amount of it you're going to use is really not that big of a deal. So you can really, the sky's the limit. You can do all kinds of fun stuff.
Yes, absolutely, you can.
And it's super simple.
Super simple.
All right, your turn, Carrie. Party spread idea, Chef Carrie.
Yeah, remember the whole introvert thing, like parties and me? Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so folks, Carrie has this dirty little secret where while she's behind a microphone, she's like, I'm Carrie Brown. In real life, she's like, actually quite introverted.
Under the table hiding.
But Carrie's actually recording this podcast from underneath the table. I don't know if you know that, but she's actually hiding underneath the table right now. No, that's not true. Well, Carrie, I'll go next. And pickles are actually a wonderful hors d'oeuvre, and there's obviously many kinds of pickles. Something similar is olives, which are always fun, and you really can't go wrong. You ain't going to find an insane olive or really an insane pickle, and can be a lot of fun.
Am I allowed to say that I hate both of those things?
You don't like pickles or olives?
You know, I used to like pickles until I worked at McDonald's for 4 years, and then I spent every weekend for 4 years up to my elbows in pickle juice, and yeah, that kind of...
You mean spending weekends in pickle juice would not sour you on pickles?
Yeah, it did actually, and I haven't eaten a pickle since.
Well, they're McDonald's pickles too, so I can imagine that's a bit like...
Exactly.
Yeah, pickles in quotation.
Anyway, the upside was it got me through school, so it's all good.
But the pickles and olives, for me personally, I like more of the salty variants rather than the sweet variants, but I actually find pickles to be a very cool and easy fix when I have a craving for salty foods because they're super salty, but they're super sane and they've got that delicious crunch to them. And I think there's even really easy, simple ways for more ambitious readers to do things like pickling at home, which can be just even more delicious.
Yes, I'm sure. I'll take your word for it. You chow down on the pickles and olives, and I'll stick with some more of those yummy, crunchy, vegetable dippy things we were doing just now.
Or you could move on to the next one, Carrie, which I actually know you are an expert in bringing these into the home and making them yourself, and that is seasoned / spiced / sanely sweetened nuts.
You can do all sorts of things with nuts. I only have one recipe up on my blog right now, but there'll be more coming if I ever get time. But there's lots of things you can do with spices and, for example, sugar-free syrups, and then just baking them in the oven to give them some extra crunch and some extra flavor. And that's a fantastic thing to add a little spice and sweetness to your party. Just don't eat the whole bowl.
Absolutely. Well, and that's the general tip I think we talked about in a previous podcast, which is if you're going to eat nuts, don't eat just nuts. Eat nuts with a starchy vegetable. They took our gerbs. For all the South Park fans, you'll get that joke. And if you're not a South Park fan, you'll just think I'm crazier than you already do. The nuts, eat them with non-starchy vegetables or ideally a nutrient-dense source of protein. They shouldn't be the entire snack. They should be a component of the snack.
And talking of protein, shrimps. Prawns.
Shrimps.
Prawns, lovely, fabulous. Dip in the middle, big bucket of prawns.
The dip in the middle, though, we got to watch out for, though, right?
We do.
We do. That can be quite insane. Sugar saturated.
It can, but if you make your own using a non-fat Greek yogurt as a base,
boom,
or non-fat sour cream.
Yep.
Also, if you can find non-fat sour cream, again, we do that because it's high in protein, not because it's low in fat.
Yep.
You can make a wonderful SANE dip to stick your prawns into. And of course, as everybody who's listened to Jonathan for more than 5 seconds will know, seafood is the bomb.
Seafood is good times. Yeah, so certainly those prawns are money in the bank. But Carrie, real quick, just to go back to the nuts for a second, one trick I have that I really enjoy as a special treat is, you've all heard of chocolate covered peanuts or chocolate covered almonds or chocolate covered cashews. Well, we can combine a pure 100% undutched cocoa and like the Greek yogurt recipes we kind of talk about, where you make the Greek yogurt, you combine it with some pure undutched cocoa, and you make like a chocolate dip. And you can dip. It's a high protein, high, super healthy fat, super nutrient dense dip that you then dip the nuts into, and that is just the bomb. I have the chocolate protein fudge recipe up on the smarterscienceofslim.com, and if you just put a little bowl of that out and you're dipping, or you sprinkle some almonds on it, or you use a little spoon, that is quite decadent. And you can do the same thing with fruits too, like take some strawberries, some orange slices, dip it in the SANE, almost like a chocolate fondue, but it's not that liquidy. Quite delicious.
Yum. You almost made me want to go to a party. As long as there's no other people there, we'll be good.
I think we have to have a listener appreciation party at some point, and it's just going to be everyone focused on Carrie.
I'll be the one under the table.
Well, actually, listeners just getting behind the scenes here with Jonathan and Carrie, you'll actually be surprised to hear, probably as surprised to hear as you were for Carrie, that I am also quite the introverted person. Meaning that, like, on weekends and such, I'm usually, well, you know this, I'm at home reading scientific studies. That's what I do for fun.
And I'm in the store reading labels.
Exactly.
And cooking stuff.
So, in addition to reading stuff and reading labels, we are out there sometimes in social settings. And another thing I like to see in social settings, Carrie, is hummus. And even sometimes these eggplant type of baba ganoush type dips. There's a lot of Middle Eastern type dips, which can actually be made amazingly sane and are really, really delicious.
That does sound good. I'm going to have to add that to my list of things to do.
It's good. So when hummus fundamentally is chickpeas, which are fine. And I mean, not something we want to go out of our way to be like, eat a pound of chickpeas in a day, but chickpeas, all good, plus some seasonings, plus a little bit of healthy oils in there. Fantastic. And that is good eating. You can put that on all kinds of stuff. You could put it on like a turkey burger. You could put it on like if you have a meat, which is very, very lean and therefore potentially kind of dry, maybe a little boring, put a little hummus on top of it. Quite good. Also good with vegetables.
And tomato-based sauces are another thing, as long as you make them yourself, because the ones in the store tend to be laden with sugar. But you could also make some. This doesn't sound attractive, but lumpy tomato sauces like relish that you could do, which would be really kind of fun, particularly for the whole prawn shrimp thing going on. That would be really yummy.
And even homemade salsas, or even salsas at the store that don't have any sugar added, don't have a bunch of garbage in them, like an all natural low sugar salsa. Yep. Wonderful for the vegetables. Also wonderful for the prawns or any of the sort of nutrient dense protein appetizers. Another one of which, Carrie, which hopefully will make our readers quite excited, because on the surface it may not seem sane, but certainly can be, because we're not afraid of fat here. Meatballs.
Yum.
You can do chicken meatballs, pork meatballs, beef meatballs, all kinds of meatballs, meat squares, meat triangles. You can put them in any shape you want, Carrie.
You could just stab with a, what do you call them here? Cocktail stick?
Yep.
What do you call them?
Toothpick?
Toothpick. There we go. Just stab them with a toothpick, pick them up. Anything that kind of size that'll fit on a toothpick is perfect party food.
Absolutely. And there's no, the key thing here, folks, is I think there's no shortage of fun, sane, party finger food. It's essentially just steer away from the starches and the sweets. And there's many other options other than the starches and the sweets.
Yeah, and like something like, chicken strips. If you get some chicken breasts, cut them into thin strips, roll them in a little bit of egg and...
like an almond flour or something like that, or flaxseed.
What I was trying to think of was almond meal.
Almond meal, yep.
One which still has the skin on, so it's kind of brown.
Yep.
Roll them in almond meal and bake them in the oven. Will be perfect finger food. With one of those dips, or chicken and veggies is just fabulous.
And hard-boiled and or deviled eggs.
Oh, eggs!
Also,
we love hard-boiled eggs.
We do love hard-boiled eggs.
Jonathan even knows how to get them out of their shell now.
I do, and it's actually changed my life. So now when we go to Costco on the weekends, my wife and I, we go to Costco every Saturday or Sunday. We purchase, I'm not joking you, Carrie, we purchase 5 dozen containers of eggs. So we buy 120 eggs a week.
You're even worse than me.
I love me some eggs. So there's so much, and I even sometimes what I like to do, Carrie, is I call this the lazy person's deviled egg. Is you take the egg, you boil the egg, you cut it in half, and you leave all of the yolk in, none of the yolk in, some of the yolk in, depending on your goals, and you put a little scoop of cottage cheese on top of the halved eggs. You cut it longwise. Carrie, I don't know why, but to me that is amazing. Like it is a simple culinary treat. I don't know why, and it's assembly. It's not cooking. Like you do cooking, I do assembly. But I'm telling you, you cut a boiled egg in half longwise. You take a little dollop of cottage cheese on top, pop it in the mouth. Good times. Trust me.
I'm going to launch an investigative study on the state of your taste buds.
Well, listeners.
And I'm going to publish the results.
Well, listeners, I think.
Oh, wait. You don't have any taste buds.
How about this? We'll have the listeners try this. And to be clear, if you don't like eggs and you don't like cottage cheese, don't try this, because it will not. Taking two things you don't enjoy and combining them will probably not taste good. However, do you like cottage cheese, Gary?
I love cottage cheese.
Well, do you like eggs?
Yes.
Clearly, logic dictates
awesome.
that it's going to be delicious together, right? That's why I put chocolate on my steak.
This is where we're going.
If A is good and B is good, then clearly A plus B is even better, right?
No.
I'm being sarcastic.
Yeah. We love you anyway.
Well, thank you. But if you do like eggs and you do like cottage cheese, I would recommend at least boil one egg and try it, because I think you'll be pleasantly surprised, Carrie Brown included.
So I just thought of something else while we were sitting here being rude to each other from 40 feet away. If you need, if you want to include something, particularly if you have guests who are not living with the same lifestyle, if you want to include something that kind of makes them feel at home, the biscuits, I have several of the cheesy biscuits that are up on my site, and they would be fabulous to have as a, something bready, like to have on a table. You could make them small, you could make them half size, make them cocktail size. And you could even, cut them in half and put some of the dip on top to make little hors d'oeuvres. Would be fantastic. And they will not know, if you've tried them, you'll know, they won't know that they're not regular biscuits made with flour. Absolutely.
And even there's a recipe on the Smarter Science Slim support group for what's called cloud bread. It's a completely starch-free bread of sorts, which actually ends up turning out more like a pita or a flatbread, there's all kinds of starch-esque things we could be using in place of actual starch. So don't think you'll never be able to eat something like that again, or you'll never be able to wrap something up. There's definitely alternatives, and certainly don't stop with the smarterscienceslim.com, and don't stop with marmaladedmilepost.com, which is Carrie's wonderful blog. there are literally thousands of, there's diabetic people out there, there's paleo people out there, there's Atkins people out there. There is no shortage of make this without using starch or sweets. Literally, the only excuse any of us have for not having that information is if we didn't have an internet connection. Because if you've got an internet connection, you have got literally decades of individuals posting all kinds of stuff in this arena. So it's good stuff.
However, and I've done a lot of searching online to see what is out there, and my major heartburn with almost every other site I've ever seen, including the paleo people, lovely though most of them do, is they do use honey. And we have a problem with honey.
Yeah, well, sir, and
a lot of them use maple syrup or honey, or they're actually still using sweeteners, which we don't use. So I just don't go racing out there thinking paleo is good, because it's not.
Yeah, and certainly I like to use some of those other sites as inspiration, because Carrie, one of the reasons I really like Carrie's recipes is she schooled me, and rightfully so, that just because, like I always say, just because a nutrition or exercise information is on the internet doesn't mean it's true. We always talk about that. Just because a recipe is posted on the internet doesn't mean it works.
It doesn't mean it works
at all.
So, more importantly, it doesn't mean it tastes good.
Exactly.
And I get tons of feedback that says, I've tried all these other sugar-free, grain-free recipes and they all taste awful, but yours don't. So that, just because it's out there doesn't mean it works and doesn't mean it tastes good.
And that's exactly right. So that's why I love Carrie's recipes. The one area that I think these recipes can sometimes be useful for is inspiration. So like you might see a paleo, and again, paleo I think is a wonderful resource because it's the closest thing out there to sanity, and it's a massive community. So good resources. But for example, you find a recipe and it's using honey, then, pop over to the Smarter Science System support group, ask a question. Maybe you could pop some xylitol in there instead, or maybe you could even do it without the honey because you've been sane for so long that you actually don't need an added sweetener because it will just taste sweet naturally.
Bear in mind, though, that it depends what it is, because if it's a baked good, you can't switch honey for xylitol because honey has moisture in it.
Totally.
So if you just switch it out for dry xylitol, you're going to have your ratios are all going to be off and it won't work.
Absolutely.
But if it's something not a baked good, something where it's literally there just to sweeten, you could probably make that switch.
Yeah, and these I think are great things to bring up in the Smarter Science System support group as well, or post them up on Carrie's blog of like, what do I swap for this? What do I swap for this? Because that's an area that I think the more we can help get information out there, the saner we can all be.
Yay!
Good stuff. Certainly good stuff. Next question, Carrie, is much simpler and going to be much quicker to answer, and that is there...
I can make anything take a long time.
I wanted to show the vast options available to us in terms of sane partying, so that's always fun. iPhone apps, or just mobile phone apps in general, is there a Smarter Science of Slim smartphone app, or is one planned? And the answer is no and yes. There is not one, there is one planned. I suspect it's going to be a while before it comes out, simply because, as you know, my background is in software development, so I'm not just going to put anything out there. If I'm going to put something out, I want it to be good, and that is going to take some money and time. Two things which I am not overwhelmed with at the moment. So I would say in 2014, when The Calorie Myth, the new book, comes out, I would imagine that we're going to see a SANE app, which is going to be awesome. But for the moment, there's not one. However, the good news is app is coming. Sorry, it's not available right now, but stick around. We've got a lot more good stuff coming, including apps and other fun things. So there you go.
And I've also been asked if I'm going to have a recipe app.
Yep.
And the answer is, what's an app? I'm sorry, people. I just, I have this cool smartphone here, and I think I have an app on it, and it's Facebook, and that's kind of where my app knowledge ends. So once I have time to figure out what a recipe app would look like and how that would work, then I will absolutely think about getting one written or whatever that is.
Well, and Carrie, I think this might be a wonderful opportunity. We've been with our listeners here for approaching a year. I don't think it's quite a year yet. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it might be time if folks don't know this already, they might not, but let's officially come out of the closet now. A lot of people may not know this actually isn't Carrie nor my full-time job. It's like, Carrie, why don't you just create a recipe app in all your free time? And like, Jonathan, where is the Sanity app? So yeah, both Carrie and I actually we do this because we love it and we think it is the right thing to do, and we literally think it is like we have a moral obligation to stem. We all have a moral obligation. We can't all become diabetic. We can't live in a society where everyone is overweight, and frankly, we can't sleep at night knowing that you and millions of other people have been lied to about the single most critical thing in the world, and that is your health and the health of your family. So, we're up nights and weekends doing this stuff. So we would certainly love to do more, but please forgive that we might not be able to do everything just because both Carrie and I have 80 plus hour regular jobs in addition to the Smarter Science of Slim.
And, I would love nothing more than to be able to do this 7 days a week. And I'm constantly thinking of ways that I can get to that point. But right now, the mortgage needs paying and I have to do a day job to do that. And I get to your requests and stuff as quickly as I can.
So we appreciate all the wonderful support, and you
really do.
You keep us going, and I would just
keep us going.
I just wanted to share that with everyone because I think sometimes people are like, "Well, where's the app?" It's coming. It's in the stack. Let's put it that way.
I love when I get emails from people saying something along the lines of, maybe one of your team could do X, Y, Z. And I'm like, let me just ask her. She's in the kitchen developing cookies.
Carrie, get some of your team on this. What are you doing?
Let me see what Daisy's doing.
Daisy would be the name of one of Carrie's cats, for those who do not know. Daisy, build this app. She's like, no. I love it. But we're here. We're committed. It just might take a little bit longer than usual. So just give us some time.
Sorry about that.
All right. Next, mandolins.
Oh, mandolins.
Mandolins. You have to sing it when you say it.
No.
Okay, I'll do it. Carrie, tell us about mandolins.
You'll make me sing in public.
Mandolins.
I love my mandolin.
Tell us about why you love a mandolin.
If I wasn't worried about being arrested, I'd sleep with my mandolin.
Tell us what a mandolin is, why it's useful for sanity, et cetera, et cetera.
A mandolin is a very cool, very sharp slicing device.
It's not an instrument, although it may sound like one.
It is, but not
a musical instrument. It's not a musical instrument.
It's a very, 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 very snazzy knife.
Yes.
But it makes very short work of making vegetables look awesome.
Yep.
And it also makes it possible to process a lot of vegetables in a very short time, but it also makes them very, very uniform. Mm-hmm. And you generally can't chop your fingers off with one like you could with a knife, so it's also safer. But the better ones come with a lot of different knives, a lot of different blades, so you could make crinkly carrots and straight carrots and square carrots and round carrots, and you can so it's really, one, it saves time, two, it enables you to process an awful lot of vegetables, but three, it makes vegetables look terribly attractive. Yep. And if you eat a huge amount of vegetables, that can be, it can just make the whole eating experience nicer, more fun, more interesting than having the same old thing all the time.
Absolutely. And for folks that are really not familiar with mandolins, we've got some in the SANE store. Again, it's just a link to Amazon. It's always appreciated if you check that out because we get a whopping, I think, 3%. But it still helps to keep the site up. And it looks, a mandolin is just, it's like a board with a blade in it, and you essentially just swipe the vegetable back and forth on it.
An old-fashioned washboard.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
It has a blade halfway down.
And so instead of like holding the vegetable stationary and moving a knife, you actually hold the mandolin stationary and you move the vegetable. And like if you're doing carrots, zucchini, cucumber, literally, it's 10 times faster. And the uniformity, like Carrie's saying, it is truly it's like the Vitamix for chopping vegetables.
Right. I think if you're not eating some things that you used to eat, having variety, the presentation becomes even more important when you're trying to eat a lifestyle that maybe doesn't include some of the things you ate before.
I think that's a really, really good point. There is definitely a lot more to eating than just the nutrients and the science, like the presentation, the variety, the fun, the emotion. Absolutely. I think it's a really great, like even if you can crinkle cut carrot slices versus just a regular slice, even the texture in your mouth is different. It is. When we've all experienced that, I think for me at least, and certainly there are insane ways to do this, but lunch meat. Like if you go to a deli and you get lunch meat sliced very, very very, very thin versus thick, it actually tastes different. It's obviously the same food, but the way you slice it actually changes the taste.
And particularly for, not that I have any, but I'm thinking for children, a mandolin could be hugely helpful because carrots are just more fun if they're crinkly. Mm-hmm. Carrots are just, or cucumber is more fun if it's a different shape, or you can, if it doesn't look like a cucumber, that might help them eat it.
Absolutely.
Or you can make shapes and just make it more fun, not just for children, but also for maybe the adults who aren't veggie lovers. This can help them.
Yep. And for those who, like me, anytime you're cutting anything, you're watching something or listening to something or talking on the phone, the one thing to be careful of with the mandolin is it's so easy to use and you're going so fast. As well as it chops carrots, it could also potentially chop the tip of your finger off if you do it incorrectly. However, there are these wonderful gloves you can buy that are like $1, $2, where they just have a special coating on the fingers where, one, you can grip the vegetables more easily, but if you do happen to hit the blade with your finger, the gloves protect you, so it prevents you from slicing your fingers, which are great.
I would strongly advise, if you haven't bought a mandolin you're going to, that you buy one of the ones that has a guard.
Oh, yeah.
You have ones where you put the vegetable in the guard and you actually, so you cannot, it never comes close to the blade, because if it's a good quality mandolin, that blade is sharp.
Yep. Yeah.
With a capital S.
Absolutely.
So buy if you can, and generally speaking with mandolins, the more expensive they are, the better they are. So, get the best one you can afford, but if you can find one that has the hand guard, you will probably not be adding protein to your vegetables.
I love it. And that is insane protein. We don't want that. So I wanted to finish up this week's podcast, Carrie, with 2 fun reader success stories. And I wish we should have started sharing these sooner. There's no shortage of them. And I'm just like, why? Anyway, so we're going to start sharing them now. So the first one, the title of this was Unable to Lift the Coffee Pot. And this is wonderful because Charlotte, it looks like Charlotte Ruddle, forgive me if I'm mispronouncing your name, Charlotte, did her first round of Smarter exercise and very clearly used the appropriate amount of resistance, because the next morning when she woke up, she was unable to lift the coffee pot. She actually had to use 2 hands to lift her coffee pot up. So that is a good sign. Charlotte, you use the appropriate resistance. If you cannot lift up, that's like, you're a redneck. If you're exercising smarter, if the next day you wake up and you can't pick up the coffee pot with one hand.
I've spoken to several people this week who are just like, really? Like 10 minutes of exercise renders you completely useless? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, I can't imagine that. And I'm like, just try it. Yep. You'll see. It is amazing how 2.5 minutes total on my bike can render me completely unable to walk.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So the last success story for this week, and just the last story for this week, is from a gentleman by the name of Roy. And it's a pretty cool story here. Roy is a young gentleman, and he was a cheerleader in college and recently started working a full-time job. Has done that for a couple years, and with being more stationary, lost many of the acrobatic abilities that he had previously. Well, he recently started going SANE, which was cool. Didn't really modify his exercise routine, but just went SANE, and sent us a video of himself doing a standing backflip for the first time in 3 years. So congratulations, Roy. That's very, very cool.
Wow,
and
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. So, and if you want to check it out, it's just in the Smarter Science to Slim support group, which is at the smartersciencetoslim.com/community, and just search for So Much Energy. And when I say search, limitation of resources and time, the search function on the support group is actually not very good. However, here is a secret to do much better. Look at the announcements on the support group, and there is an announcement that says, how to find anything instantly. And it's a way to use Google, where you can use Google to search any site. So the way you do that is you do site : and then you put the name of the website, and then you put the thing you want to search for. This is all explained on the support group in that how to find things instantaneously discussion. But in this case, if you want to see Roy's standing backflip, go to the Google, type in site : then put in the Smarter Science of Slim community URL, and then type in so much energy, and you will find a fun Roy doing a standing backflip due to sanity.
Yay! Roy, that's awesome.
Well, folks, I hope you enjoyed this week's show as much as we did. We always enjoy sharing our evenings with you. And until next week, and for every week afterwards, eat more, exercise less, but do it smarter. Talk with you soon.
Yeah.
Wait, don't stop listening yet. If you like the podcast and if there's other ways we can help you, please join us in the Smarter Science of Slim support group, which is freely available at the Smarter Science of Slim website, smarterscienceofslim.com. There you'll find all kinds of free recipes and success stories and just all kinds of fun stuff, like how to help your kids go sane and just great community content.
And just one last thing before you go, if you wouldn't mind heading over to iTunes and up onto Amazon.com and leaving us a review, and then going over to Facebook and liking us, we would hugely appreciate it.